You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
This is the Hammock Hangers Podcast, where we hang out and talk about everything from hammocks and hammock camping to the group hangs from around the country. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hammock Hangers Podcast. I am your host, Paul Collins, but also known as Skunkape. My co-host, AJ Glenn, or Phoenix, is with me.
Hello, everybody.
And our guest this week is adventurer, backpacker, hiker, camper, outdoorsman, traveler, and YouTuber, Rob Pelton. What's up, Rob?
Hello, friends.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about with you, Rob. Kind of been doing a little bit of.
Is that a bad thing?
No, it's a good thing.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah, it's actually a good thing. I've been doing a little bit of cyber stalking and, watching a lot of your videos and everything else. I mean, you've got some awesome content on your YouTube.
And I've been a subscriber for Rob's for a while. And
have you?
I have. And even I remember seeing some of your early videos even before I subscribed. But then, and we're going to get into this a little bit, when you started putting out a lot of content on the Ridge Runner, you have a lot of really great videos, a lot of great resources. So if anybody's out there that is looking for some a bridge hammock advice, maybe specifically to the Ridge Runner, definitely check out Rob's YouTube channel. He's got some amazing tutorials, some amazing adventures with his Ridge Runner, and some modifications that we're going to talk about that I may or may not have totally ripped off on numerous occasions.
And that's what the videos are for. There is a playlist on my channel. It's called Everything Ridge Runner. And there's still some other things that I'll probably end up recording this summer, just to go over some things a little bit and condense them into one video. I look back at some of my old videos and you can tell I was new. It's kind of cringy for me to watch myself back then. But the information still stays true, right, in my opinion. So,
yeah, I mean, you've got just shy of, right around 5,500 subscribers. You've got 246 videos. And that's what I love about your channel, because it's not just, it's not just one topic. So you got hammock stuff in there. You have your trips in there. You have review videos. You have, informative, videos. You got a little bit of everything. And I mean, it's really nice what all you do have on there. So
I think it's funny. So I just do a lot of things outdoors, and I like to record those and share those. But it's funny because I have subscribers who love just the review videos because they want to know the facts and
sure,
my opinions about things. I have people who love my winter hot tent videos.
Yep.
Right. I have people who just love the Ridge Runner videos. I have people who just like the bike packing stuff I do. So it's weird that there's all these little facets, and
right,
not everyone likes everything I do, but that's okay. I'm going to do the things I want to do.
Sure.
And hopefully those who want to see it can just watch it. So.
Exactly. I mean, it's your channel, and I mean, with having with having the playlists on there, you can separate all that. And if somebody wants a certain thing, they can just click on it and go from there. So let's start off with getting a little bit about your background of how and when you actually got into camping in general, and basically just spending as much time as you possibly can outdoors.
Well, a lot of this started when I was a wee lad back in, way back in the, what was it for, 1976? It's been a little while. But I've always been outside. Even when I grew up in Miami, there was still like a small little patch of woods near my neighborhood that I would just run around in.
That's probably gone now. You know that.
Guaranteed it's gone now.
Just saying.
And then from there, I moved to Georgia, southern Georgia, where I, became a Boy Scout, and I was playing around in the swamps and the woods, and water moccasins and banana spiders, and I just loved every bit of it. From G.I. Joe to I thought I was a ninja, but it always kept me outside. I used to build forts, like I'd build a fort on anything, and sleep in it, and I would even skip school a lot and go just live in the woods, right? And then just kind of grew up. My dad took me camping when I moved to the Dakotas. And then adulthood kind of came, and then you gotta, life starts to happen, jobs and all this kind of stuff. fell out of it for a little bit, found my passion for the outdoors again. I mean, probably about 10 years ago, went overseas, did some like trekking around the Himalayas. And when I came back to Minnesota, found the Superior Hiking Trail, which is an amazing trail right in the backyard that so many people don't know about. And it just started from there. And that's when I started doing all the researches, hammocks, tents, and I didn't even know people slept in hammocks. I thought they were just the things you saw in your grandma's backyard that no one ever laid on.
Yeah, that's how I ended up finding them, the same way. Then, that's all I thought about hammocks.
And then from there, I just looked for different ways to stay outside. So I'm not only a fair weather outdoorsman. Thunderstorms, sure. 50 below zero, sure. Hot, sure. I'll find a way to get on trail, get outside somehow, some way. I just need to find a way to get rid of this day job so I can do the outside stuff more.
Exactly. I actually just got done watching your video, the one you have titled, How Do I Backpack So Much?
Yeah.
And I saw, you had a lot of people asking you, how you get out there and everything else. I loved how you explained that you made the time to do it.
Right. I find that people will make the time for something they actually want to do.
Right.
Like all your friends that say, hey, I should go backpacking with you sometime because they say they want to, but do they ever? They never show up because they don't really want to.
Right.
And I just made it a priority, and I found just different ways to get out there. And I always get asked, how do I afford to go out on these trips? How do I afford to do these things? Well, the secret is once you own all the stuff, everything's pretty much free except for gas and food. I already have the hammocks and the top quilts I already have it. So I already spent,
right,
thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on that
I'll
stuff.
get to that point at some point where I'm just like,
and I've been accused of influencing some buying decisions. Just like, Rob, stop spending my money, and but yeah, that's what it comes down to. You will make the time to get out, and once you own all the stuff, then it's just destinations after that, gas and food.
Right.
Yeah. I heard a really great saying, and kind of ties into, making the time and making the dedication to getting outside. It's sacrifice for the things you love or sacrifice the things that you love.
Right.
And so if you're not getting out there, you're making excuses, and, eventually there's never really going to be a great time. You just got to go and do it. And, you're going to get to a point where you can't, like, physically. We just get older. Getting older is a trap. It's a big kind of thing.
It's almost unfair when you're young, when you're in your 20s. I mean, you could take on the world, right?
Yeah.
I can climb Mount Everest. I can go run a marathon. I can do these things, right? But my bank account says differently. Okay. Fast forward, you're 65, 70-year-old, retired. You're financially secure, but your body says, nope. You're gonna get out of the lazy boy chair without groaning? I don't think so, sir. So it's kind of unfair, right? You should start off with all the finances to do all the things you want to do. When you're old, you just work, and you have a reason to get up every morning.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'll go with it.
So, you talked about like getting reinvigorated of your backpacking, or just the love of outside. So what was the catalyst that kind of like woke up that enthusiasm for you again?
When and I brought this up in a couple of other podcasts, and I think I mentioned in the video as well. It's when I took a trip to Nepal. I spent about 3 months in Nepal back in like 2014-15, and just being outside and on trail for that extended period of time it was amazing to put my body through that, and the simplicity of it. Your job is to wake up and walk, eat, drink, poop, pee, and then go to bed. That was your only job. Yep. And there's a simple beauty in that. And then, while you're out there, take in what's around you. These are things that you're seeing with your own eyes, and your feet are walking on these trails physically. It's different than Googling these things and looking at an image on Instagram or something like that. You're actually experiencing it. The smells, the sights, the sounds, that invigorated with me. And then so when I came back home, I looked for chances to get outside, and I found, the state park system. Then there's trails everywhere. The Appalachian Trail, I kind of knew about it. I really didn't know about it, but that's a whole community in itself. Then you got all the through hikes. You got just the outdoor community, whether it's backpacking or any of those kind of things, it is amazing because everyone I've met have been wonderful people. wonderful people, all with that
It's a whole different world out on trails.
It really is. It really is.
Everybody's a lot nicer and happier.
Day hikers are rude.
Yes, yes. I can contest to that.
So, I mean, I don't blame them. I'm walking by. I smell like garbage, and I probably look disheveled and homeless maybe because I've been on the trail for 3 days. Well, look, I thru hiked the Appalachian Trail back in 2012, and congratulations on that. That's amazing.
Thanks. One of my funniest favorite stories actually was when I made it up to New York. Heading north, I went up Bear Mountain. And then I was going down the north side of Bear Mountain, which takes you down into the little zoo that they have down there.
Okay.
And as I'm going down, there was this lady coming up the trail. Okay. Now, I mean, they've done a wonderful job up there making basically both sides of, going up and down the mountain, just steps. Okay. But there was this lady coming up. All she had on was a water bladder. So I knew she had just parked down in the parking lot down below and was walking up to the lookout tower that was on top and everything.
Sure.
But common courtesy, the ones, going down the hill move to the side for the ones coming up. So I stepped to the side, and as she started to pass, I looked at her. I was like, "Hey, how you doing today?" Trying to be nice. And that lady stopped and she looked at me. And I mean, if looks could have killed, I would have been dead right then. I wouldn't have made it to the end.
How dare you, sir?
Exactly. And she looked at me and
how dare you address me
in a snotty voice, she looked at me and she goes, "Well, I'd be doing a lot better if I was going the easy way like you." And then she started walking, and it took me by surprise. And then it dawned on me, and I just started busting out laughing, which didn't make her any happier because now I'm laughing at her. But it's like, I'm thinking to myself, the easy way like you're going to the top of this mountain from the parking lot down bottom. And I just walked here from Georgia. So,
exactly.
So,
and I happen to be going on a small downhill right now.
Exactly. So I know what you're saying about the day hikers.
Oh man.
So when you got back into the outdoors and you said, "Hey, I'm really want to do more of this," what kind of brought you into hammock camping versus using a traditional tent?
Well, growing up camping, everyone had tents. I mean, tents, that's just what you did. And as I was just kind of searching through YouTube, actually just looking at camping in different areas, I stumbled upon hammocks and actually dedicated sleeping hammocks. And I thought, that's an interesting idea. And I read and researched the pros and cons about tents versus hammocks. And that's a whole political debate that we don't need to get into here. But it made sense to me. It made 100% sense to me. Because sleeping on the ground, I mean, have I ever had a super comfortable night on the ground? I've done okay, but it wasn't like
you made it through the night.
Yeah, sure.
That's about it.
And so that made sense to me. So I just started researching, and I found all these different hammocks. And that was when REI came out with their first hammock. It was a bridge hammock. It had everything. It had the rainfly, it had everything. And it was $300 for the whole system. And I went, okay, all in one, let's try it. I didn't really know that was completely different than a gathered end. So my first actual camping hammock was a bridge hammock.
Okay.
Used it a couple times, bought the underquilt for it, 30-degree, synthetic underquilt. And it was nice. It was comfortable, had a little bit of squeeze. But then as the weather got cooler, I realized I need some more warmth underneath here. And there was no other options. And then researching more, stumbled upon the Ridge Runner, and I was like, look at all this. Tons of aftermarket stuff, higher ratings, so I ended up just going to that. And it's been bridge hammocks ever since, buying one tarp, graduating to another tarp, that fits it better. So my number one hammock has always been that Ridge Runner. Yes, I do own a Superior Gear, from Danny, and that's a fantastic hammock as well. And I actually did a video comparing the two about the differences. And the Spear hammock definitely has its place, especially in my arsenal. But if I'm looking for sheer comfort, it's going to be the Ridge Runner. And I won't ever change it, except if they made an XL, I'd buy it.
So when we had Danny on, I asked him, so when are you going to make an insulated bridge? So
We've talked about it. Me and Danny have talked about it. Absolutely.
So I would totally be completely on board because Danny from Superior Gear is just a super awesome guy.
Yeah,
who makes
great guy.
Amazing gear. Mm-hmm. I also own one of his gathered ends, and it's very nice. It is very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the fiddle factor, no fiddle factor.
Absolutely. So you talked about your trip to Nepal, and just being outside and being able to experience the wonderful joys of the outdoors, and I can totally appreciate that. Do you find that recording so much of your adventure, or having a YouTube channel where you feel a little bit more, I need to capture this for my audience, do you feel that enhances your backpacking trips, or maybe takes a little away from that experience?
I've experienced both. There are times where I'm on a fantastic trip, and I do want to document it. Not necessarily for my viewers, but for myself. I want to look back at the things that I've done. Right. But sometimes looking for a shot, it actually forces me to look at the trail a little bit differently. I can see. Obviously, I'm looking at shot angles, right? But it does force me to look at the trail a little bit more intimately. I can appreciate the rises, or the turns and the bends even more because I can set up a shot that way. But there are times where I don't want to go through all that stuff. There are times where I just want to go on a trip for the trip's sake, and that's okay. I've done that quite a bit. I've also gone on trips where I wanted to record the trip, but then when I got there, I didn't feel like it, so I just started recording just random stuff. Edited it at the end of the day, just threw it together, and I'm like, okay, this is garbage. Ends up being one of the most popular videos for some reason. Really? There's no rhyme or reason. So sometimes it takes away, sometimes it adds, but I think in the overall general sense for me, it adds to the trip. Only because I can appreciate the trail again through the editing process, again in watching it later. So does it? But that's why it takes me a long time to hike, because I'm always back and forth.
That's what I was fixing to ask you. Does it slow you down, slow your hike down any? Since you just said that you're looking for certain shots and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So does it slows you down a little bit on your hiking?
Yeah, it does take me longer to hike a trail when I'm filming because I'm setting up shots. A lot of times if I'm doing walking to or walking away shots, I got to go back for the camera. So if I'm hiking a 12-mile day, it could end up being a 14-mile day. Gotcha. Especially if you want to take that iconic long shot so you can really see the expanse. I got to go. Right. I got to go way back and cross the valley.
Yeah, I saw a couple of videos where you had set your camera up where a bend was, and I guess you'd go back up and then walk down towards it, and then turn the bend and walk away from it.
Yep.
So it's like, oh my God! So he had to set that up, go up, then walk back and walk down. Now he's having to walk back.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it is a lot of work. It's kind of funny because in post I see myself walking back to the camera, like.
Right.
The walk of shame.
I'll go and edit that out. But yeah, it definitely does. If I'm gonna hit a trail and just try to go for sheer speed, I probably wouldn't want to record it, or I probably shouldn't. But that's just part of it.
Gotcha. So roughly how many miles of hiking on trails do you think you've got under your belt so far?
I haven't even come close to tracking that. I know some people do. I haven't. I mean, I got to think it's a lot because I do a lot of hikes. I do a lot of small hikes too. Right. I mean, it's got to be in the thousands.
Yeah.
I'm not hiking the biggest miles per day, anymore. But every once in a while, I'll throw in a 20 plus. But okay. I'm actually doing that here next month. A couple 20-mile days coming up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. If I were to guess, I don't know, 3,000 miles.
Yeah.
In total, and you did that almost in one shot. So.
I've also through hiked the AT.
Oh, there he goes.
The entire width of the
entire width, and the CDT as well. I just want to put that on the record.
He's wanting to go out and hit the PCT next, so he can say that he done a triple crown.
So I can get the triple crown of width.
Yeah. Get it? There's a t-shirt in the making right there.
So whenever he does this, I'm going to let him talk to the ones that are have actually done the triple crown of the entire thing, and explain to them how he's in that same category with them.
Yep. Again, I'm a teacher. I have no.
Is this a judge-free zone or isn't it?
Right.
It's my truth.
Right.
That's true.
I do what I want. Oh my goodness! So, how did you get into bike packing? Because you have a few videos with bike packing, and that's something that I have dabbled in a little bit, and just kind of interested in your experience with.
When I lived in San Diego, California, I played a lot of beach volleyball, and I did a lot of mountain biking. I got into the mountain biking scene. Even did a couple of small downhill races, and just loved mountain biking. So I had a lot of that, growing up as a kid. Of course, that went away for a long, long time. And as I started to get into backpacking and that kind of thing year round in Minnesota, the summers here are hot. And when I say hot, I mean, not probably on your level of hot. I was born in Florida, but it'll get 96 degrees and 90% humidity. I mean, it can get very soupy. And I don't want to backpack in that. I don't want to walk with the stale air and the cloud of mosquitoes, eating the flesh off my face. But if I had a bike, I could go faster. I can create my own wind. The bugs can't keep up with me, and I can discover the trail from a different view. It's just another way for me to get on trail, and this time it's on a bike, and that's a whole nother set of gear items that you got to put for bike packing. I've done it with a tent. I've done it with a hammock. I'm probably half and half on it. It just depends on where the bike trail is going to take me.
So do you prefer hiking over bike packing, or like them about the same?
I would say when it comes down to it, I probably like backpacking more.
Okay.
Because I'm usually doing that, especially in the fall time. The weather's cooler, the leaves are changing. It's gorgeous, and that really slows you down, and you can really take in all that kind of stuff. The one big advantage, though, if you're looking to put on distance with bike packing, is if you're pedaling and you're tired, you can stop pedaling. And you know what happens? You still gain ground. You're still getting distance. Yep. Whereas if you're backpacking and you just want to get to camp and you stop, well, there's no more positive ground, bud. You gotta keep going.
It's not getting any closer.
That is true.
Exactly. And if you got a downhill on the bike, that's cruise. Yeah.
That's awesome. So looking through all your videos, it looks like you've been to a lot of different places. What's been your favorite place that you've been to hike?
I had been around a lot. I mean, I've hiked in different countries, which was nice. Most recently, I was in Peru. I dropped a series of those videos recently. Up to this point, as far as just like a traveling hiking trip, Peru was pretty awesome. The Inca Trail was challenging. It wasn't very long, only 26 miles, but you're going over mountains, and you're at you're at 10, 12,000 feet. The Rainbow Mountains is at like 16,000 feet or something. But that whole experience was amazing. But that is the most luxurious backpacking you'll ever do in your life, because everything is carried and cooked and done for you. Your only job is to get up and walk, but it's not easy if you're not used to those elevations. But as of right now, I would say the Inca Trail is probably tops, and that would be internationally. Locally here, the rim to rim hike in the Grand Canyon a couple of years ago. That's my favorite domestic hike. That was an amazing time. Not only the trip, but the company I was with. The crew of guys I hike with are all insane, and I love them to death.
Gotcha.
And that's probably what made it even better.
Okay.
So my wife and I are going out to Colorado this summer, and she is looking at doing a 14er with your acclimating your body to those higher altitudes. Do you have any tips for people that are doing some of those hikes at altitudes they're not necessarily used to?
Well, a mistake a lot of people do at altitude is they fly into where they're going, and it's higher than what they're used to, and then they just go on a hike right away. That's a mistake. You want to spend a little bit of time at some altitude. Now, I'm not saying you have to fly in and just climb to 14,000 feet and sit there. So if you're used to 500 feet above sea level and you fly into Denver, which is a mile above sea level, right? Spend some time there. Get used to that, and then you should be able to go ahead and climb to that. And a 14er, that'd be just a day hike, right? So you'd be coming back down. because when you get up to those elevations, a good headache could set in. You got to make sure you stay hydrated. But if it ever gets too bad, the 100% cure for that is to go down. Just get to a lower elevation. So, and if you're going to be multiple days at elevation, and you want to be sure you stay acclimated, wherever you set up camp, try to do a day hike higher than camp because you want to sleep lower than your highest point of the day. That would also help if you're doing multiple days on trail.
Some good information there.
Yep.
Okay.
So, like we talked about, you've been to a lot of different places. You've seen some really incredible things. What would be your favorite place that you have hung in your hammock?
Where have I? I've hung at some amazing places. One of the first ones I can remember, which kind of really made me fall in love with hammock camping. This was in my REI hammock years and years ago. I took it to Maine on this week-long canoe trip in Maine. We paddled and set up all these camps, every single day. And I set up my hammock right on the water's edge, right along the Allagash River. And I set the tarp up in porch mode, so I had the perfect view. And a rainstorm came through, like this literal downpour. I thought for sure that little tarp was going to get me soaked. But I was able to lay in my hammock and watch this storm blow through. And it was beautiful. And I was warm and dry and comfortable. And I'm like, this is amazing. That right there in my brain was like one of the best moments in a hammock I've had. You look and you see the water pouring off the tarp lines, and your drip lines are working exactly how they're supposed to, and you're just there. You got your hot cup of coffee, and you're just watching the chaos roll by, and there's a beauty into that.
Yep.
So that was probably one of the best places, right along the Allagash River. I mean, of course, I've set hammocks up, overlooking some great things. I even set up a hammock one time overlooking Mount Rushmore. Don't tell anybody I did that. But yeah,
it'll be our little secret.
Yeah, right. And then as far as I haven't really hung anywhere outside the U.S. I wish I would have been in the hammocks when I did a little bit more of that. But yeah, as of right now, my favorite spot, I think it was just because of the moment, on that river that was kind of magic to me.
There's something about being within the midst of a storm, and you're comfortable with your gear to know that you're not going to die or get wet, and that you can really appreciate the show of nature.
The video I have coming out on Sunday, we're camping in a tornado warning thunderstorm. It's insane. It's an extremely funny video, but I mean it was bad, and we were out there. That video is hilarious, and you'll see kind of the setups that I did, and I was warm and comfy when everyone else wasn't. So you'll see that one. That was pretty fun. But I had the Ridge Runner out for the first time on that trip too for this year.
Oh, awesome. So out of all the places that you've gone, what is a bucket list place for you to go that you have not been yet?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so since I did spend a lot of time in Nepal, the one mountain range I didn't get to was Everest. I would like to get up to Everest Base Camp. There has been someone who has hung a hammock at Everest Base Camp and slept. They had just a hanger, not like a Tensa stand, but something very similar. The guy's name is Nick Gordon. I think he's got the highest official hammock hang. That would be on the item. I'd like to get out to Scotland. I'd like to hike the West Highland Way out there. That's a 100-mile trail. I'd like to get to Ireland. I'd love to do the Camino. There's so many things. There's just not enough time. I'm pushing 50 years old. I got to get on it here. So
you got to make time, Rob.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. As best as I can every day.
What's the longest trail that you have hiked from end to end in one go?
The longest. Actually, I haven't hiked a super, super long trail, maybe only 40 or 50 miles. Because they've been in sections. I haven't spent weeks on trail. That's something I would love to do. I'd love to get on the PCT. I'd rather do the PCT than the AT. But I would love that.
Why is that? Just out of curiosity.
Because a lot of it's green tunnel, and I've hiked mostly green tunnels, whereas out west, it's much more expansive. It's just a different different things. You got the Sierras, you got all this kind of stuff. Now the AT is iconic. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
It's kind of like Disneyland now, right? If I had the time, sure, I may do it. But if I were to choose any of the three, it would be the PCT to start off.
Yeah. So. I want to do the PCT at some point also, but there's still something about the AT that keeps wanting me to
there's a lore to it, isn't it? It's like its own.
It's funny. I tell people the easiest way for me to describe it is in 2012 I finished the trail, but the trail did not finish with me.
That amazing. It's always there, right?
I mean, yeah. It's like a homesickness whenever I see pictures and videos and all that of people out there on it.
Man, well, the nice part is it's always there to welcome you back, man.
That is true. But yeah, I do want to get out west also because I haven't hiked any the big mountains, we'll say, and so I'd love to get.
My
out
wife
west.
would say the Appalachian mountains are just like really big.
They're just foothills.
They're not really mountains. Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love to get out west and do some hiking as well. I'd love to do the long trails like the PCT and possibly the CDT. The CDT would be a little more unnerving because of the really big bears that they have out there.
You're right.
But I'd love to, like you said earlier, the rim to rim, around the Grand Canyon. I'd love to hike out through Utah and places like that as well,
I would
just to see it.
I'd like to get out to Utah and do some of those. I'd also like to do the Wonderland Trail. That's the one that goes around Mount Rainier. That's on my list as well. The list is growing, and I keep adding that someday list into the will do list. And
right there you go.
You just keep plugging away.
There you go.
Well, Paul, if you can compact yourself pretty small, we can throw you in the back of our truck when we go out there this summer.
Do it.
I used to not take up much room. That's changed in the past couple of years, but
So with the YouTube community and the kind of explosion into adventure channels and things like that, so who are your favorites to kind of like take inspiration from, and who do you kind of look for, or the channels that you are subscribed to?
I'm subscribed to a lot, and I watched a lot of them, kind of at the beginning of all this stuff. I mean, Darwin on the trail is a staple. Then you got Dixie, of course, who's just, she's like the real deal. Both of these, hikers are. And I've subscribed to, what are some of the other ones? And more like Jupiter Hikes is amazing. Follow Bigfoot, who's another local guy here. Just these guys who actually got into a lot of gear reviews and actually really helped me in a lot of the gear choices that I've made. And I kind of took what they were doing and I kind of fashioned a little bit of that in what I do. But since I do a lot of it and I'm editing a lot of it and actually talk to a lot of these people, I don't watch as much anymore. I don't know why that is. But if something interests me, I certainly will, especially if it's something I don't know about.
Sure.
But I watch my buddies, of course, Midwest Backpacker, Miyagi on the Trail, Tim Buckley. I'll watch all these guys when they drop a video, because, there's a personal connection there. But I watch a lot of stuff that's not backpacking,
right.
But there's so much, there's so much information out there. If you want to know about anything concerning backpacking and the outdoors, it's seriously just a YouTube search away, the way it is these days. It's amazing.
Right.
So with one of my random questions here, if you look at your list of channels that you're subscribed to, what is the most off-brand channel that no one would figure that you would watch, that you're kind of addicted to?
Oh my goodness. Well, let's take a look, shall we? Who is?
I just think like for me, like I have no desire to do like farmsteading or like animals or farming or anything like that, but I am completely addicted to Goldshaw Farms in New Hampshire. He does like video, I watch everything, and I have no desire. I am not like a farm person at all, but I'm addicted to his videos of feeding ducks and chickens and his livestock guardian dogs and his cows and stuff like that. So,
I like cooking channels. All right, because I like to cook.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
I'll sit there and watch. I mean, I got a recipe that I'm going to cook tonight right after this, even though it's going to be pretty late, but I don't care. So Sam the Cooking Guy, if you ever heard of him,
Yeah,
I love that guy
I'm
because
with you.
he's kind of irreverent. You know, they make a lot of jokes and they make some really really good stuff. And there's another guy. His name is Joshua Weissman. Kind of he did a lot of videos himself, but amazing cook, right? And just kind of his personality, the way he puts together his videos, I really really like. There's a bike packing channel, a guy named Dustin Klein, who's a zany, crazy, like bike rider, bike packer kind of guy. And the energy and the style of his videos, I really, really relate to. So yeah, off-brand, cooking channels. Yeah, I love to see like some of these like Texas barbecue guys. I'm like, what is that? Let's do that. I'm a single guy, so now I got like 30 pounds of like brisket I got to eat.
Nice. So what was it that got you into making videos yourself?
As I was researching cheap places to live, and when Nepal came up, all these Nepal videos came up, and I'm like, oh, all these videos, and I learned a lot, and I was like, there was a lot of stuff that I wish they would have included, so I made my own versions of my Nepal videos. And then when I got back, I'm like, oh, I edited them. And I have a background in graphic design and some editing. All the programs are different now. But I just started recording the things that I went on here. And I started pushing them on YouTube. And I just kind of kept going. And I got some subscribers. And people started commenting. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I just kind of kept plugging away. My aim was never to get like huge and be like a YouTube, Mr. Beast or anything, even though if that happened, awesome. But you can't count on it. The percentage of people who can make a living on YouTube is so small. And for those who have made it because of an algorithm luck or whatever, that's awesome. That's great. I'm glad it works. But I do find if these channels, when people get to a certain level, all of a sudden there's a separation of sincerity and realism, in my opinion. Some of these channels got really big. So, some people I know, I just lost connection with them because it doesn't feel real. I don't know if it's because it's just, because it's money now motivated or because they got sponsors. I don't know. But for my channel, I'm just going to do what I want when I want. Even when I get free gear to review it, I tell them, don't send it to me if it's garbage because I'm going to rip it apart, because I owe you nothing. I'm happy to send it back. I don't care. But if it's something that I think I'll use, I'll certainly review these things. And then the reason I got into gear reviews is because every time I looked for reviews, all the reviews I saw on products were garbage. Like these people, I'm like, come on, I need to know this and this and this.
Exactly.
So I'll just do it myself. I'll buy it. I'll do it myself, and that's how I got into gear reviews. And of course, gear reviews get way more views than trip videos, like way more. But you need the trip videos to kind of maintain your credibility as a backpacker, right? So
that's true.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So now, kind of like a follow-up question here. You do your own editing. Mm-hmm. What software do you use?
So everything is kind of iOS based. So I record everything on my iPhone, from pictures to all my video. And then I'm able to airdrop that onto my iPad. I have an iPad Pro. And I use a program called LumaFusion. It is an iOS-based program, and it's very simple. It's very intuitive. It's a full-featured editing program. It costs $30, for a lifetime, and it's all done there. And right from that program, I can upload right to YouTube.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, very, very simple. And I found that. I don't know if you know who IB Tat is. You know IB Tat? He's another triple crowner, extremely foul-mouthed YouTube guy, but he's he's kind of like a big teddy bear. He used LumaFusion.
Just like you, Paul.
But he used LumaFusion on his trails, and I'm like, oh, that is interesting, and that's where I found it, and I've been using it ever since. And it's a great program. Okay.
All right.
So speaking of influencing people's purchasing choices and things like that. Let's talk about some of the influence that you've had in my pocketbook. We've talked about on the channel what I've completely switched to a bridge hammock, and got a lot of inspiration from your videos, specifically your modifications. When you look up Ridge Runner modifications, I think like your 2 videos that you did are kind of the first ones to come up. So I've watched them numerous times. And I own, I know I own 1, maybe 2 13-foot Thunderflies.
Nice.
Because of your videos. And I completely agree. I think it is one of the most perfect tarps for the Ridge Runner. In fact, I got Paul one here recently.
Nice. So you can close the ends, right? All the way. Yeah. You don't have that annoying triangle anymore.
So now I don't know if you noticed that, Rob, but whenever he said that about he has 1, maybe 2, if you noticed, he was looking up. I guarantee you his wife was in front of him when he was saying this. So that's why the maybe 2
just went to bed.
It's funny how that came about, how I ended up ordering that rainfly. Me and my buddy Jeremy, Midwest backpacker, he has a Ridge Runner now too. We were driving back from the Ozark Highlands Trail in Arkansas, and we were just kind of looking, and we were both complaining about our rainflies. They were just too short, and they didn't have modifications to pull it out and stuff like that. So as we were driving, I just looked up Warbonnet's website, and I was kind of looking, and I found the custom section, and I'm like, hey, they make it a 13-foot, which is exactly what I think we should need. We looked at all the specs, and I don't know how much it was, $150 or something. And as he's driving, I'm on the phone, he looks at me and he goes, order it. Just order it. It's fine. Just order it. Let me know how it goes. And he said it like 100 times. I said, okay, if I order it, will you shut up? So I ordered it. And of course it came and it was phenomenal. And then of course Jeremy sees it, examines it, and he orders it as well. So, so now he had a Blackbird XLC for the longest time. Switched to the Ridge Runner, switched to the Mountain Fly Rainfly. So he's basically got everything I have. And then he has the audacity to call me a copycat on his videos.
Oh my goodness.
And he knows it too. He just looks at me and I'm like, yeah, I know.
That's funny.
I think also like the Thunderfly, not only is it a perfect hammock or tarp for the Ridge Runner, the 11-foot version, in my opinion, if you own a Tensa 4 stand, it is hands down the best tarp for the Tensa stand. One of the things that I wasn't a huge fan of in the Tensa using my Superfly was, I don't know, the doors kind of wrap around the poles, and it's just kind of weird, and it works, but it's just kind of funky. But the way the doors, come up at an angle and they just close at the top, it's perfect. Like, it's absolutely perfect.
Right, and you're hanging a gathered end in there though, right?
Yeah, you would hang a gathered end.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know of the Tensa, haven't used one, don't have any experience with one, but it makes a lot of sense. Being able to use that out with no trees.
And I'm looking forward to trying some different bridge hammock setups with Yobo's Cricket stand and their Hive stand that's coming up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm interested in seeing those as well. As far as the Ridge Runner goes, like all the mods, when I first got my first Ridge Runner, all those mods is something that I did because it made sense of the things I wanted. So I made all these modifications. And then, fast forward a couple of years, I don't know if Warbonnet took note of my videos. They've never given me credit for any of these things. But they did put the rings on the inside for a Ridgeline. I'm like, that was kind of my idea. So when I called to order my next bridge hammock, I made sure that was there. But I also had them put a little grosgrain loop on the head end so I can clip my pillow to it. And they don't have that stock, but they should have it. It takes nothing to do. It's a place where your pillow could sit, so that way when you sit up, it doesn't, fall to the small of your back like it always.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one change that I made when I installed my Ridgeline in mine, I actually buried a length of shock cord inside the Zingit. So even when it's slacking, the shock cord pulls up that tension. So it never drops in front of your face.
Interesting. Oh, okay. So what doesn't drop in front of your face? What do you mean?
Well, like if you have it, if for some reason it's not like taut or whatever.
Talking about your pillow?
Or no, the Ridgeline itself.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
It that shot cord takes up any slack that the ridgeline would have in it, so it's always taut out of your face.
That makes sense. I get that. The one thing I will say, like one of the first things you should do if you get a ridge runner is get rid of the stock shot cord on the bug net.
Oh, it's horrible.
It's garbage. It's so loose. Yeah, get this stuff. I bought mine from Dutchware. It's a lot more sturdy. It's got reflective on it, and then instead of those little tensioners, those tension toggles, put some line lock 3s on it. Mm-hmm. You know, pull, done. I mean, I don't know why they don't do that right out of the gate. But what I love about my rainfly, my mountain fly, it's got rings on the ridgeline inside. So now my bug net connects directly to those, so it actually lifts up a little bit more instead of connecting it to your suspension or the trees.
Yeah. So one of the goals that I had with kind of like my Franken Ridge Runner that I have that I've changed everything on is I've tried to adjust things so I could, if I wanted to, hang it so the suspension triangles come so they stay under an 11-foot tarp.
Okay.
So I have shortened the dog bones on both sides.
I tried that, but then my spreader bars didn't fit.
Oh, see, I have different lengths. I want to say my foot end, the dog bones are like 28 inches. And my head end, I want to say is 32.
Okay.
But I also installed a 10-foot 8 or 10-foot 9-inch structural ridge line on top.
So without the bug net.
Without the bug net, yeah, on top of the bug net. So that also helps, like when you're kind of slow, struggling to get out in the morning, you could always reach up and grab something to help out. But yeah, that also kind of shrinks the package a little bit, but it doesn't shrink it enough that you have too much sag in the ridge.
Right, interesting. So that sounds like a video idea.
Yeah. The whole like video editing thing I need to get into. I do have LumaFusion though. I'm familiar of the app. I haven't never.
He's heard of it,
but
he's heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard.
That's probably about as far as it goes.
Well, it's kind of like my through hike of the AT.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a buddy that was supposed to be the video editor, which we won't talk about him much, even though his name is Britt. We won't mention his name or anything, but he failed miserably at doing editing for us. We're still waiting on a video
we're still
he was
waiting
supposed to editing from like 3 years ago.
My goodness. Okay. I want to talk about HangCon, by the way.
So, when you coming to HangCon?
Okay.
Go ahead and talk about it.
It was my intention to come.
Yeah, I do believe that someone by the name of Rob Pelton had registered, and I was super excited.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot, like a bunch of things happened all on that same weekend, and I'd have to recall what they were. But I would love to go down there because HangCon is right during the time of the year where I would love to get out of Minnesota.
Oh yeah.
I bet.
And go,
it's a little chilly
hang
up your
out
way
down there. So I'd like to make a big effort to come down next year to do that. I just don't know. Do I just show up and throw up a hammock and hang out, or?
Well,
yeah, pretty much.
First thing is whenever we open up registration, you just go online and register, and mark what days you're coming down and everything. But other than that, show up and.
Look, is there a cost or is there?
So one of the things that we've worked really hard on is keeping the event as accessible as we possibly can. And so we don't have an official cost for HangCon. We provide meals, breakfast and dinner for the entire event. And we completely fund this entire fiasco by raffle ticket purchases and just community donations.
Right? Oh, that's fantastic. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And luckily, so far, knock on wood, we've always kind of come in the black, and the community has always been wonderful.
Great.
Our vendors are always wonderful. It's a very organic kind of event. When I know that I do not have to leave the entire purchase cost of HangCon on my credit card.
Yeah.
That's a nice little breathe of
we still hold our breath every year, in hopes that we don't end up in the red,
Sure.
because we're in the red, then it comes out of our pocket. But
Right.
The raffle that we have, all of our vendors are great.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, it's by far the biggest raffle that you will see at any of the hang events anywhere in the country.
That's amazing. Yeah, that support, especially from the cottage industry, which is,
easily at least $10,000 to $12,000, if not more, in raffle items.
Good,
I mean, hammock gear alone this past year, they donated 2 complete hammock setups.
That's amazing.
And each one of them was, what was it, like $1,400 or something like that? $1,400 complete
that's
setups.
Legit. Yeah.
They donated 2 of them. Kristen and Cal with Yobo, they always donate one of their cricket stands. You have
Danny from Superior Gear has always been very generous.
And they've been kind of making their rounds too. And I just got word from Danny that they actually have like in stock. They have in stock hammocks now, which is insane and amazing. Now you don't have to wait 12 weeks or whatever.
Absolutely.
I was talking to Danny just before HangCon this last year, and we were talking about HangCon. And I said, AJ sent me an invite. They wanted me to come down and be a guest or something. And he was like, oh. He's like, what does that mean? I go, I don't know. Do I get a free campsite or something? He goes, no, it's all free. So I was like, oh, and I don't know what that means. But I know he came down and he's got a new partner that's been helping him out as well. Yep. So they've been really making their rounds on there, and I hope they get to a point where they can get caught up and then start doing a little bit more innovating, because Danny's got a lot of ideas. He just needs the time to do it.
Right. Yeah, that's what he was saying when we had him on the podcast, that, he has a lot of ideas, but he's just trying to get to where, he don't have the lead times and all that stuff.
Exactly. Exactly right. And then as far as War Bonnet goes, so there's cottage companies and there's companies that are close. Is War Bonnet, are they still considered cottage? I haven't worked with them ever, which is amazing, because I think I probably sold hundreds of Ridge Runners for him. I
consider him a cottage.
Myself. I would consider him a cottage,
Because usually I talk to a lot of cottage vendors. We're always kind of reaching out and doing stuff, and War Bonnet, I guess, has never reached out to me, and I've never reached out to them either. But
I have.
Oh, okay.
They actually did make a donation to HangCon this year. They donated an XLC.
Awesome.
But every time I go out to Colorado, I send them an email. They're like, "Hey, I love your gear. I own, I think, one of everything that you have. I really like to come just talk with you guys. I'd like to have you on the podcast. But I don't know. Something gets lost in translation, I guess.
Yeah, but, they got a lot of really, really good things. I think they need to step out a little bit more, because, like I said, they don't seem to have the exposure as a lot of these, because there's a lot of people you can talk to directly. A lot of these kind of, you can reach out and talk to Dutch. You can reach out and talk to Danny. You can reach out and talk to Ben McMillan from
Jason
Hilltop Packs, and
yeah.
It's amazing. And for some reason the War Bonnet boys seem to be just kind of on their own little island or something, and not necessarily a bad thing. So War Bonnet, if you're watching, reach out to me. I got some ideas.
Give us a holler.
I got some ideas for you, man.
I said Paul from Arrowhead Equipment is also another one that I'd love to touch base with, and I own a lot of his stuff too. But HangCon is a great event. It's there's nothing even remotely close to it.
Do you have the dates for it yet for this?
Actually, yes. It's always Martin Luther King weekend.
Oh, okay.
So it's gonna be the 11th to the 15th of January.
Okay, 111 through 115. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. The website is www.hangcon.com.
Hangcon.com. All right.
Yep.
Sounds like a great road trip for you and Midwest Backpack.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe I'll bring Miyagi down too, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
Absolutely.
That guy makes his own hammocks too. He's got his own little cottage thing going as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Very small runs.
we've tried to get Shug to come down also, but Shug he don't like the big crowds, which I don't blame him.
Yeah, that's a big one.
We have a few people that show up.
Yeah,
we have a few people.
So before we started recording, you had said something about you've actually met Shug.
Yeah, we took a deep winter trip into the boundary waters. It got down to like 26 below, 27 below. And Shug was invited out with us because he does a lot of those kinds of trips as well. And he took us up on the invite and came out and hung out with us for a few days. Really, really good guy. Like you said, he's actually kind of a private guy, even though he's a very outgoing, kind of a zany kind of guy. He's a natural born performer. But I think when the crowd gets too big, I think he might think he has to always be on, so to speak.
Right.
Which we are very, very clear. Like, hey, you don't have to be on. Just have a good time and be yourself. Like,
right.
But a very good, genuine guy. And you want to talk about the knowledge this man has on hammocks.
Without a doubt.
He's brought so many people into the hammock fold. It's unbelievable. But now he's at a point to where he's tried everything, he's done everything, he's talked about it, and now his system is dialed in, and that's just what he has. Unless something comes out that's very, very on the cutting edge, I don't see him, putting out a ton of educational videos anymore because he's covered it all already. It's already out there.
Yeah, I think his most recent one was something about pros and cons, which I think he's done a couple of those. But whenever I interviewed him, he was super, super awesome. And talking to him, on the podcast, it was just like watching the videos,
Yeah.
He's same person.
Yep. He's got stories. The man's got stories. Yeah, but he was a really good guy. I was very happy to meet him.
Yeah.
But, I've heard of his YouTube videos, and I've listened to a few other podcasts that he's been on, the Reverend Hunter podcast he's been on a couple times. And like, I can just think of so many things that I would like to talk about Shug, to talk with Shug about that has nothing to do with camping.
Yeah.
Like just growing up in the South.
Yeah, the man's lived a life. We heard some stories. He's done a lot in his life. And a lot of it was pretty crazy, fun times, and, circus and juggling and all. I mean, he's been all over, being his crazy self. So it's taking him places.
And as much as I'd love for him to come to HangCon and hang out with us and stuff, I can
totally get his point of view too.
Yeah, exactly. Because with as well known as he is, he comes to an event where there's 400 people. He's going to have 400 people, bombard him.
I wonder. So I mean, he made a pretty decent living at performing at the Minnesota State Fair here for years and years and years and years. And and he does gigs. He does private gigs. He does business gigs. Because the man's a professional. I wonder what it would take for him to come down and put on a show. Start the donations now.
Right.
You can have the roped off barbed wire fenced area just for him. And no one can two big bodyguards standing at the gate with sunglasses on. That say yes or no.
We got a few people that can fill that position.
We'll put Brett and Chino over there.
There you go.
So as far as like your YouTube channel and come out, so for subscribers or people that are interested in your videos, so what do we have to look forward to? What's on kind of your planning room floor for some future videos, future trips, some gear reviews? What you got coming down?
Yeah, there is a few things coming down. You got to be too careful. You got to be careful on filming too much and uploading too much, because then you get into putting out videos that are too old. Like if I didn't put out the winter videos, then they don't come out until June. Who wants to watch a winter video in June? So you can't get that far ahead, right? So I do have some gear reviews coming up, so from some backpacks to some clothing items, to some more hammock stuff as well. But I have some trip videos coming out as well. I'm finishing up a couple of trails that I wasn't able to finish this last year. And then also going out to Colorado myself this summer. I'm going to be filming some of that. And then, of course, just in any kind of new gear item that's working for me, I'm going to do an in-depth review on these kinds of things. So that, and of course, I'm going to hop on the bike as well. I hope to hop in the canoe for a little bit as well this summer. There's a lot of variety in the outdoors. So my channel does a lot of outdoor stuff, whether it's on a trail on foot, whether it's on a trail on the bike, if it's on a river or a lake in the canoe. I'm going to be outside with good people, good content, and hopefully it can inspire some people to get outside and try some of the stuff on their own as well.
Awesome. So I got some kind of random questions here to throw at you. So when you're out on the trail, whether you're camping, backpacking, or bike packing, what is your favorite meal to cook or just to have with you out on the trail?
Depending on where I am going, I've taken this from by a man by the name of Jason Waugh. He actually has a backpacking channel as well. He brings steaks with him, a frozen steak with him to cook on the first night. That's fantastic, right? Bring out a ribeye for you that's frozen, but by the time you get to camp, it's already thawed and it's ready to go. Now, if you're going to have a campfire, absolutely go do that. Otherwise, if I'm eating backpacking meals, like, these freeze-dried dehydrated things, I'm really loving the stuff from Peak Refuel. The coconut chicken curry is really, really good. An old tried and true staple is the chili mac from Mountain House. That's probably about it from Mountain House. But I'm really liking the curries right now as far as some of these dehydrated freeze-dried meals. So if I see
the Peak
one,
Refuel is
they're doing.
Oh my god, they're the best freeze-dried meals I think.
They are. Their biscuits and gravy is insane.
Oh, phenomenal!
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know that I've had any of their meals that I haven't really cared for, to be honest with you.
Yeah, see, there you go.
There's plenty. I know, like their what is it, the breakfast skillet deal that they have?
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's just full.
Yeah,
I mean,
good luck walking 20 miles after that. Yeah,
exactly.
So, what is maybe an unusual habit or kind of a weird routine that you might have that people might shake their head at when you're in the outdoors?
A weird routine. Let's see. Boy, I'm very particular in the things that I do. I don't. I like to have all my stuff in specific spots. I don't like to have a yard sale, in my camps. I'm pretty, like I said, particular. I like to have all my gear, right there together. But as far as a routine, I would say, man, boy, that's a good question. I don't know how peculiar I am.
Maybe we should have Midwest Backpacker on, and we can just ask him.
Oh, he would say that I'm very particular about on a lot of things. Yeah, man. You stumped me on that one. I'm usually.
I think that would be a hard one for me to answer.
Yeah. What's something peculiar that I do when I'm in the outdoors? I don't like to use bug spray. Is that weird?
I mean, for being in Florida, that's insane.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't like using it.
It's
especially
weird.
DEET.
Yeah, especially DEET.
Yeah, I refuse to use the DEET, but the Picardin, I'm like, on their bugs. Yeah, on their bugs.
I mean, as far as hammocks go, I always sleep with a bug net. I never take the bug net down ever.
We can also relate to that.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I just feel like for some reason that's what's going to save me from a bear or a lion. Is that bug net?
It is funny, and it's just like being in the people that are in the tent. They're in the middle of the woods. I'm in my tent. I'm safe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. I always have my bug net up. Yeah, always.
Well, kind of a follow-up question to that is one of our favorite questions. Tell us your scariest night in a hammock.
Oh, okay. Is it actually scary or is it perceived as scary? Okay. I'll tell you this. I don't care.
It could be animal or person. Luckily, all of our stories so far have never included animals. They've always been scary people.
Well, there's always, creepers that walk around. I remember one time talking about, it wouldn't be funny if an axe murderer came into camp and said hi. And I kid you not, 3 seconds later, someone wandered into camp and said hi. That was kind of funny. But as far as scary, at the risk of being judged here, years and years ago, I was down in Arkansas when I was first starting to explore some of the trails in Arkansas. If you guys don't know about hiking in Arkansas, it's beautiful. Like, what does Arkansas have? They actually have some great trails. I was in my hammock. I was sleeping, and I'm down south. I don't know what's happening. And this is when I was starting to get my gear items, figured out. And that was also the time where I thought, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm down south. I'm unfamiliar. I better carry a handgun with me, right? I had one. I had one on a chest rig. And what was nice, I could sleep with it on, right? So I'm laying in my hammock, and I may or may not have been influenced by some foreign substances. And I'm laying in the hammock, and I hear a man run into camp. A guy runs into camp, and I'm like, excuse me? I unzip, roll out of my hammock, and draw. I am ready to rock. My girlfriend goes, Rob, what are you doing? I said, there's a guy here. There's no guy here. Are you sure you didn't hear him run into camp? There's no guy here. But I'm very impressed on how fast you got out of the hammock. I swore that someone ran into camp and they meant to do us harm. And yeah, I was a little paranoid at that point. But that was scary. Like at that instant, that was terrifying. But I'm glad that I chose to fight instead of flight, I guess, at that moment. So like I said, risk judging me or not, but it was hilarious. But it really was scary at the time because I thought I was literally had to throw down, man. It was crazy, and I still laugh about it to this day. Yeah.
So with as a fellow person that owns a lot of gear that I've purchased myself, as well as had done reviews and things like that, what has been a purchase that has probably had some of the greatest impact on your camping life?
There's a couple of things actually. Now that my systems have been kind of pared down and they're fairly lightweight now, I stumbled upon frameless backpacks, and since my loadouts are so light, I haven't used a hip belt in the last couple of years. So carrying a pack without a hip belt has been amazing. It frees you up. It doesn't look like you got a giant belly all the time. It makes you more mobile. So these frameless packs have been extremely comfortable, and they've made my time on trail amazing. I really loved it. I did a lot of work with Waymark, who's the company that I have all their packs now. And I just absolutely love them. So frameless backpacks without a hip belt has changed my whole thing on trail. I can actually go further, and not be super sore. Yeah. I mean, okay. If I'm
what is your base weight?
My base weight's now 13 to 15 pounds, and if I'm in the dead of summer, maybe even lighter than that, so I'm right around 20 all in, 22 all in. Okay. So yeah, it's not bad.
Okay.
So do you have a limit as far as temperature goes?
If it's 110 degrees outside, I probably won't go out.
Okay. But none as far as cold?
No. Not so far. Not so far. Yeah, we're.
Okay. He has a video for sub-zero hammock camping, AJ. Yeah. And what was that one down to? That was down to like negative.
So we got to 27 below with a minus 48 wind chill. I was in my Ridge Runner. I stacked quilts on the top and bottom, and it was 83 degrees inside my hammock. Like right here, and it was minus 27 outside. That's a 100-degree swing, and it was great. I mean, yes, it was like death out there, and I was warm and cozy in here. The two downsides to that is one is getting out in the morning. It's like I don't want to get out, but you have to. And two is, like I said, I'm mid-40s and I got to pee in the middle of the night. So if you haven't mastered how to pee out of your Ridge Runner yet, work on it. just move your boots first.
Remember which side you put them on.
Now we're on the topic of having to pee in the middle of the night. I've noticed being when I was in a gather den, I would wake up at least 2 or 3 times a night to have to go water the trees.
Really?
But with a bridge, I don't get up at all.
That's amazing. I mean, I still get up probably at least once. Mm. And if you're super smart and those frigid temperatures, you bring a funnel.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. Yeah, I think my and I've said this before on the podcast. When I don't mind like cold temperatures, but if there's a fear that if my gear isn't set up in a particular way, death may be an option, then that's probably my limit.
Yeah, it's real. Some of the places that we go to and the temperatures we experience, it's real. I mean, you really have to kind of have your right mindset and your skill set up to par. Otherwise, this just wouldn't happen. Do not be ignorant and try to do this. If you want to try this deep winter stuff, do it in your backyard first, so you can run inside if you have to.
Absolutely.
I think we would have to do it in somebody else's backyard. But
not yours.
Yeah,
my backyard.
I would love to try it.
Yeah, it's amazing. We, this last trip, we had a guy from Indiana come up, and he loved it. He thought it was amazing. If you have the right gear in those temperatures, you're actually more often too warm than you are too cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, by far. So
I always sleep better whenever it's cold outside and I can bundle up to stay warm.
That's exactly right. Yep.
I sleep so much better.
When you walk up upon Shug at those temperatures and in the morning, he's got like his Hannibal Lecter mask on, and you're like, oh, and he's like, and the other thing that Shug does when it's super cold and he gets up, he actually yells, he screams out of his hammock.
Oh yeah?
Yep. Shouting. He shouts out the world. Yeah, like I made it.
Does he do his woo buddy out there?
Yeah, it was a lot of it.
Yeah, that's funny.
So here's Paul's favorite question. What is your favorite holiday movie?
My favorite holiday movie? If I say Die Hard, are you gonna yell at me?
No.
A Christmas Story is hard to beat. The original Christmas Story. That's just an old classic. Always laugh at that. But I still like Die Hard. I used to have like Die Hard parties. We'd watch all of them.
Is Die Hard really a Christmas movie?
Don't be a hater.
Some would argue.
Don't be a hater.
Some would argue. Yep, shots fired at Yakatomi Plaza.
So, what's your favorite season to go camping?
Fall, by far. Yep.
Seems to be a trend. Like for me, fall hands down.
Yeah.
Like other seasons are not even.
Well, here if you get there's a sweet spot where it starts to get cold out, so you're not getting and that kills a lot of the bugs. So you could have a very clear bug-free time outside, and also that also corresponds with the color change. We have an amazing fall time color bloom out here. And then, of course, those cool nights and those warm days where you can bundle in your hammock, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Maybe even some frost in the morning. It's just, that's the time you want to be out there.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we've talked about your tarp. We've talked about your hammock. So what other gear are like mainstays for when you go out in the backcountry hammock camping?
Well, I've been experimenting a lot with different suspension systems. I tried a lot of different ones. I ended up using Superior buckles and beetle straps. Those seem to be the best so far because they haven't slipped. So the pole mods I have found to be amazing for the Ridge Runner, but they're not perfect. They now do an internal pole mod, which would be a lot better, especially to shed rain and snow. And they can actually retrofit those to your tarp now. And I actually might send mine in to get the internal tarp mod, pole mod done. But mainstays in actual hammock camping, I mean, bring your hammock. That's one thing.
So what type of quilts are you using?
For the top quilt, all hammock gear. I got a hammock gear 10, 30, and 40. And on the underside, I use all Lynx full-length underquilts. I did have a local Libre for a while, and I found I just didn't like it as much. For some reason, I didn't seem to be the temperature range didn't seem to be as accurate as the Lynx did. So I ended up selling that, and then I ended up buying. I now have a 20-degree underquilt for the Ridge Runner, which in my part of the country, it's the best all season. Then I have a 0-degree too. So
okay,
awesome.
Yep.
Well, that's my questions, Paul.
Okay. Yeah, those weren't too bad. They were simple and hard at the same time.
There you go.
I mean, I like to say hang time hook. That thing's actually been awesome. Especially when you have your ridge line dialed in where it'll support the weight of a phone. Sitting in there, watching Breaking Bad or something is awesome.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
There you go. All right, and I just got one more question that I always ask. It's like a last question for everybody before we wrap it up, and that is, what are your top 3 tips that you would give to somebody new that's just starting into hammock camping?
Well, okay. I would definitely say do your homework. And don't get a cheapy Amazon hammock. You're going to end up not liking hammock camping if you do that, because not all hammocks are created equal.
Correct.
Get an underquilt.
Agreed.
Don't worry about pads. Yeah, in theory they work, but in practice they are a giant pain. Just invest in a decent hammock. Invest in a decent underquilt. You're going to thank yourself in the long run. Just take all the trial and error that everyone else has done and just go directly to that. All right, whether it's a hammock gear or even one of the Dutchware beginner hammocks, get something that's going to be wide so you can lay diagonally. So get a decent sleeping hammock, not a day lounging hammock. Go straight to an underquilt. Just get to it. That, and I would say hang in your backyard. Practice your hang angles, because if it's off, you could have a miserable time. A lot of people don't know why they're uncomfortable, only because it simply could be just your angle. You have to practice it. Yep. Don't go 30 miles out in the middle of nowhere and just throw up, some stuff for the first time. You got to practice that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can say
agree with all 3 of those.
All 3 of those, 100%.
Yep. And hang angles for gathered ends are different than bridges.
Yep.
That's very true.
Yep. So, all right, Rob. Well, we're about to wrap it up.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you inviting me on. I'm not sure how my name got in front of you, but I'm glad that you reached out.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's way more interesting, guys than me out there. So.
Oh no.
I don't know about all that. I mean, we're at an hour and 22 right now. I can still keep going, but I like keeping single episodes and not having to split them up.
Right?
So.
Yeah, I get it. All right.
So
yeah, it was good, and hey, we're looking forward to having you come on down to HangCon.
Yeah, I'd love to do it. Yeah, and I just may do that. And depending, what's the temperature down there in January?
Yes.
So
yes.
Yes.
So this past year, it was probably cumulatively a little cooler than it usually is, but the nights get down in anywhere between the 20s to the 40s or 50s.
Okay.
It just
so my 20 degree underquilt's fine. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I always just bring my 20 degree set, and
I think that's all I've ever used is my 20. Most of the time, I will use my 20 degree under with a 40 degree top.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I mean, but I'm usually a hot sleeper.
Yeah,
and some people there that I know. Who was it with that had all the quilts?
Jacks are better.
Jacks are better, right? They brought 75. I think 75 quilts to sell.
Oh my goodness!
And they sold out of every single one.
Like the jar bridge and all that for the Ridge Runner too.
I don't know what all ones that they had. All I know is they had said that they were bringing like 75 quilts. I don't know which models.
Good.
But they sold out of every one of them because we hit that one cold night and some people
got to like 28 degrees or something like that.
Hey, I'm going to Florida. I don't really need much of anything. I'll take a 40 degree and that's it. And, or no quilt at all. And yeah.
That's the other thing. A lot of people make the mistake is they're like, I don't need a quilt. No, you do. It's going to be 80 degrees. You're still going to need something, You're
still going to need a quilt.
A lot of people don't realize, like, if you go with a really warm underquilt, you can get away with a cooler top quilt.
Cool. Yep. And that's usually how I do it. So
exactly.
All right. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks again, Rob, for coming on, being a guest. And I will put all your links in the show notes and all that, so people know where to where they can watch your videos and reach out to you with a question if they have one. And would love to have you back on again, sometime in the future. Talk about some more of your travels that you've done and all that.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. It was great meeting the two of you. And I hope to see you here when we got another whole hot season coming. But yeah, I'm going to try to get down there this coming January. But
definitely come down, hang out with us and we'll talk to you again sometime in the future.
All right.
everybody just, look in the show notes and, subscribe to his YouTube. Watch, you could binge watch his videos. They're very good videos. Information,
I agree.
plus the places that he's been and everything else. So make sure you subscribe and follow him on Instagram. And until next week, happy hanging, everyone.